All right. So the record button is active. So going into Sunday's games for the NFL, the matchups that you have for early games starting at 1 p.m. And I do reference all these times are Eastern time. So if you're on any other time zone, you have to adjust accordingly. So for 1 p.m., we got the Seattle Seahawks taking on Atlanta Falcons, the Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans taking on Cleveland. Oh my God, Cleveland Browns. I think this is Shedeur Sanders' second start, if I remember correctly. The Washington Commanders, which I'll be talking about them in a second, taking on the Minnesota Vikings. I don't understand why they're trying to push Jaden Daniels back to come back from his injury. Like that, the team is not going anywhere. You're not making the playoffs anytime soon. I don't understand what they're doing with that. But yeah, they're taking on Minnesota Vikings today. So go ahead and check out that game. The Dolphins are visiting the New York Jets in cold New York. The Saints are taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in early action, divisional action. Indianapolis Colts taking on a pivotal game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That division is heating up because of the recent loss that the Colts have experienced. And the final game for the early day games are Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens in a divisional rivalry. That one's going to be very interesting because Pittsburgh is sitting on the outside looking in on the division, and the Baltimore Ravens could play up spoilers, especially with these two historic teams going at it. It's always been smash mouth football, and there's been a lot of talks about Mike Tomlin and his current situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see what happens with that. Running out the midday games, we got the Denver Broncos visiting Las Vegas Raiders. Got the Chicago Bears taking on the Green Bay Packers in the oldest rivalry in the NFL, and the Los Angeles Rams visiting the Arizona Cardinals. Your Sunday night game is going to be hot Houston Texans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who may miss the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. And your Monday night game is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles, who need to bounce back from all the losses they've been taking recently to visit the Los Angeles Chargers. So the England Patriots, New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers, and the Carolina Panthers are all off this week. And as mentioned on earlier on the Thursday night game, the Dallas Cowboys beat Detroit Lions 44-30. Yeah, that hurts the Cowboys because they're looking to make the playoffs run, and it's not if they keep dropping games like this, they're not going to make it. I know they still have that tie, but it's not looking good if you're dropping games like this. It's not looking good for them. So we need to get them. We need to make sure that they can do something to build off the momentum, winning against the Eagles and beating Kansas City at home. So hopefully in the next few weeks they can accomplish that. So looking at that schedule, we're going to look at the standings. Currently, the New England Patriots are sitting on top of the AFC East. Baltimore Ravens are sitting on top of the AFC North. Jacksonville Jaguars, as I mentioned, are sitting on top of AFC South, and the Denver Broncos are sitting on top of the AFC West. The Raiders and the Tennessee Titans have both been eliminated from the playoffs, and in the National NFC Conference, the Eagles are still sitting on top of the NFC East. The Chicago Bears are sitting on top of the NFC North, and not only that, they're sitting on top. I think they're sitting on top of the NFC period. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still sitting on top of the NFC South, and the Rams are sitting on a very tight race, are sitting on top of the NFC West. Both the Cardinals, Saints, and the Giants have all been mathematically eliminated. So if you're looking at the playoff picture right now, if the teams were to start today, I'm sorry, go back. There we go. Let's use this one instead. So if you're looking at this as a team start today, the Patriots will be the number 1 seed, followed by the Denver Broncos, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Baltimore Ravens. And then your wild card teams will be the Los Angeles Chargers, the Colts, and the Buffalo Bills, with the Houston Texans on the outside looking in. And the NFC, you got the Chicago Bears at the top of the NFC, followed by the Rams, Eagles, and the Buccaneers. And you have the Seahawks, Packers, and the 49ers rounding out the wild card, with Detroit looking in. So it's really, really tight in that NFC race. As you can see between the Lions, the Panthers, and the Cowboys. They're very, very close when it comes to wins and losses, as well as the Lions and 49ers and Packers. Like, it's really right there. But the biggest surprise to me in this is the Chicago Bears being on top of the NFC. That's crazy after the Rams dropped their last game. I'm not surprised about the Patriots. They have been dominating this year. The Broncos have been right there behind them, who find ways to win games. I think the biggest surprise to me in the AFC right now is the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are sitting 6-6 and could miss the playoffs for the first time in 5 years, 5-6 years. I don't remember how long it's been, but it's been a while since that team has missed the playoffs. And the Dolphins are right there, 5-7. I don't know what they're going to do, but we'll see what happens going there. But that's pretty much what's going on in your NFL. in your NFL standings. And if you're looking at for the schedule for your Thursday night game coming for week 15 for this matchup this week, your Atlanta Falcons going to be visiting Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Prime Video. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. All right, so we got the NFL out the way. Like I said, I don't go into too depth with NFL. I just pretty much go with the schedule. Some of the games that you'd be checking out. I'm definitely probably going to be really interested in that Sunday night game because that is playoff implications not only for the Chiefs but also for the Texans who are trying to come back into the playoff race. So that should be a very interesting thing. Also, that Monday night one should be also kind of interesting just because the Eagles have been losing a few games back to back recently, and we need to see what they're going to do moving forward going into that game. So moving on to Formula One. I don't talk about Formula One very often, but when it's at the end of the season, I got to give my shout outs to Lando Norris for winning his first F1 world title. I watched the Abu Dhabi race this morning. Verstappen took first place. Lando Norris took third place. All he needed was a top 3 finish and he won the championship. And I think Mercedes won the Construction Cups, which is basically whichever team has the best build throughout the entire season has the most points. So congratulations to Lando Norris. And most importantly, Max Verstappen is not winning the title this year. So there you go. I'm happy about that. Moving right along because it's already being played on right now. So they're going to be doing the final 12 since the conference championships happened all yesterday. And there's only one more game left. That's the Army-Navy game next weekend. They're going to be announcing the final 12 teams that are going to be playing for the college football playoff. A lot of projections happening. So Indiana is projected to be number 1 after their win yesterday. Ohio State will remain in the top 4 despite the loss. Georgia, with their dominating win over Alabama, is going to project in the top 3. Texas Tech, who dominated BYU, is expected to be in the top 4. And then Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma are going to be from 5 to 6 to 8. So what's interesting is the field from 9 to 12. So you have Notre Dame, who has 2 losses. You have Alabama, who has 3 losses. You have Miami, who has 2 losses, even though they didn't play in the conference championship for the ACC. They are mathematically the stronger team out of the ACC that could potentially miss the playoffs, but because of the fact that Alabama, BYU, and Virginia lost yesterday, and you have a 7-5 Duke team who won the ACC championship. There's a strong consideration that they could be considered for the playoff, and I really hope they do because that is my squad. I'm rooting for them hard since all those dominoes fell. But you also got to look at the fact that you got James Madison, who is in the group of 5, been dominant. I think they only lost 1 game this year. Tulane, who won their conference championship yesterday, is considered as well. So we got to see what's going to happen with these shakeups. I don't know what the committee's going to do, but it's looking really spooky. So let's go ahead and move into some of those conference games yesterday with one of the more surprising games because I didn't have them winning this game. But shout out to that coach out at Indiana because they pulled off the upset and beating Ohio State 13-10. I watched this game. The game was excellent down to the end. They held ground. That coach said what he said from the start. I win. And that's all you need to do is win. It don't matter how you win as long as you can win. So they absolutely earned the right to be the number 1 seed. They beat the number 1 seed. No discussions about it. I drop my hats to Indiana. I've actually been in their school. Very nice school. Just don't like Indiana and as a whole. And moving on to the ACC. Duke, yes, pulling off the upset over Virginia in the overtime. And with I watched this one too because this game was looking compared to that Georgia Alabama game. That game didn't look all that great when it came to the fans, but the action did not stop. Shout out to Manny Diaz for bouncing back from that Miami firing, going to Duke, becoming the head coach of Duke. And yes, I know technically it was a technicality that this 7-5. How you want to know how the 7-5 team ended up playing for ACC championship over Miami? Statistically, it came down to a tiebreaker that they had a better strength of schedule in the conference versus Miami. So therefore, they was the ones that were able to play for the championship. But regardless of what happened, congratulations to Duke for winning that game. They are now your new ACC. It's crazy to talk about Duke as ACC champions in football. That's like mind-boggling. Like basketball is one thing, but to be a football champion, that's crazy. That's crazy work. But I think with this loss, Virginia's mathematically eliminated from the college football playoff. And the other game that I watched that was very entertaining, even though it was one-sided, Georgia knocking off Alabama 28-7, avenged that loss that they had earlier in the season when Alabama came to Athens and beat Georgia on their home turf. Congratulations to the Bulldogs. They've been holding strong. They should definitely be in the top 3, if not top 2. If not number 2, they're going to definitely be in the top 3. So as the SEC representative, you're definitely going to see a bye week from the Georgia Bulldogs, and they earned it. I'm very happy for them. And the other big 4 of the championship games that happened yesterday, Texas Tech showed BYU again why they are the class of the Big 12, winning 34-7 and potentially moving themselves up in the rankings for the playoff. I don't know where they're going to rank in that escape. I don't know if they're going to be in 4 or if Ohio State's going to be ranked 4. So we got to see what happens, what the committee decides. But I think they earned it. Like, they beat this team twice and they dominated, and they only lost 1 game this year. So hats off to them. So other teams that have won some games, Tulane beat North Texas 34-20. They're also in consideration for the playoff. I think I've already talked about them, and there were some other scores that happened yesterday too. I mentioned James Madison. They ran away with their win as a group of 5, winning 31-14. So congratulations to them. Kennesaw State, who originally was, I think, 2-10 last year, won their conference championship 19-15 against Jackson State. And Boise State once again being the class of the Mountain West Championship right before they go to the Pac-12, winning 38-21 over UNLV. So I'm going to also give some shout outs to the SWAC, because I love me some black college football. And shouts out to Prairie View A&M for exercising their demon and finally winning the SWAC championship 23-21 against Jackson State. They're going to move on to the Celebration Bowl. I forgot who they're going to play from the MEAC conference, but hats off to them. They have a very nice field and facilities. I saw a YouTube video of their facilities. It's actually pretty solid for a black college of you don't really see a lot of, you don't hear like a lot of good stories about the black college and facilities when it comes to football and stuff like that. But Prairie View do not play around. They have a very nice facility when it comes to college football, and I'm very happy for that team and that coach, because I know they've been playing very hard. So I was trying to look at the MEAC stuff and I couldn't find anything on it, so we'll move on to that. But I'm not going to talk about what the committee's picking up. I'll pick back up in a few minutes to see if they what they decide to go with, but we'll go from there. But college football season is pretty much over. The only game left is Army-Navy game, and then after that, bowl season will start. I know that the FCS championships has been going on. I'm not going to cover that. I'll probably cover that a little bit later next week. We'll talk about that. Moving on to boxing. This was something that was brought up in the group chat on that I follow, but didn't get a chance to actually watch this fight. But I did see some highlights that Isaac Cruz retains his title after majority draw from Lamont Roach. I've been told that Lamont Roach pretty much dominated this matchup from beginning to end, and he was pretty much robbed. So if that is the case, it's boxing, y'all. Y'all know how the politics works in boxing. Whoever has the most money is going to basically manipulate their way into it. So I really hope that this is not the case and he gets a rematch fight, because this fight was the last minute when the Tank Davis was when he was unable to land a rematch, and it's very unfortunate because I know Lamont Roach is working very hard to earn these fights. So that's the only thing I got for fighting news. I'm not going to talk about Jake Paul, his fight coming up with Anthony Joshua, because I really don't care. What I do care about, and somebody I know that wanted me to talk about this, is the ongoing negotiations of the CBA with the WNBA. So this is what's being proposed, because I have 2 articles about this. So what was proposed from the negotiations is they're going to increase the max salary base up to $1 million. However, what we're hearing from them is that they want to they propose a supermax base salary. Minimum salary is projected roughly around $220,000 to $225,000. They wanted to have the salary cap that will more than triple, about $5 million, and they want to remove the requirement for teams to provide season-long housing, expecting players to pay rent for themselves. So the season runs from May to about September. So what they're proposing is if they increase the salaries, that the players can pay for their own housing. Now, the players are pushing back on this because not all contracts are fully guaranteed. Rent varies based on city, especially if you're in New York, LA, and I think in Bay Area. Those are the hardest places to find good rent, when you're talking about playing for a short amount of time. And then losing the housing allowance would hurt younger players when they're coming from the college ranks or overseas straight into the league, and they're not making the salaries that expected. Because I don't know if they have a rookie scale in the WNBA, but I'm pretty sure that with this new CBA agreement, that could really hurt them. But the league is arguing that any mandatory housings would move the NBA closer to other U.S. major leagues, which is true. Most of these major leagues do not provide full season housing, but at the same time, those leagues players are making way more money. So I can understand where the players are coming from. Teams would likely still help in special situations when it comes to training camps, trades, and short-term stays. And teams will bear costs for logistics for leasing, furnishing, and property management. So owners in high-cost markets will that worry about losing mandatory housing could make it harder for recruit players, while leaving housing options could let wealthier franchises use it as competitive peak. Again, looking at LA Sparks, New York Liberty, the Golden State Valkyries of the world, maybe Dallas, I think, would be another market in Chicago, compared to somewhere like Detroit. No, Detroit has a competitive market, but like Atlanta, for example, could be using to advantage because the market is a little bit cheaper compared to the other markets. They also, beyond housing, they want salary tied to a league revenue, which is fair because I think the last time I remember the NBA is like 52-49 when it comes to players' revenues versus the league owners. Formalizing a charter of travel and reducing commercial travel burdens. I wholeheartedly agree with that one. Adjusting and limiting the core destination system, clearing the schedule roster rules that reduce stream instability. Also, I think they want to change. I also heard that they want to change when training camp begins because they want to start it a bit earlier, which could affect players who are playing overseas or in other leagues from returning from those training camps to play into the NBA. But at the same time, the WNBA also allows players who have overseas commitments to go fulfill those commitments too. I don't know how that's going to really work out. That's kind of a weird one to go with it because like it's the only league that pretty much does it of the major sports. I'm pretty sure MLS does it. I don't know how MLS works because I know for a fact European do it all the time. They do transfer and loans all the time. So I don't know how that's going to work for those WNBA players. But yeah, it's pretty much that's what we're looking at. The current CBA is extended to January 9th. And after that, we got to see what's going to happen. And keep in mind that the WNBA is also expanding 2 new teams. They're picking up a team in Portland and a team in Toronto. So we got to see what's going to happen. And then they got another team coming up and then the following season, I think in Cleveland. So we got to see how this is all going to work out with it. But hopefully the players get what they want as far as money and the league gets what they want where it comes to negotiating how they're going to negotiate removing the housing. If I were looking at it as a third party, because I'm not going to look at it as a first on one side or another, I would recommend that they increase that salary a little bit more so that the teams could be able to afford the housing, or they could probably tie it in with the teams that can afford it. Because like these are billionaires we talk about here. Because it's like those teams are, even though the team's value aren't as high as the NBA teams, they're still owned by billionaires for the most part. All right, so we got some updated news. Looks like after being on the outside looking in last year, Alabama can now breathe a sigh of relief as the Crimson Tide, that's crazy. A 3-loss team still made the playoff. Crazy. And the Miami Hurricanes are the last at-large teams ahead of Notre Dame for the 12-team playoff field announced Sunday. So let's look at what's going on. The final CFP bracket. Let's see. I'm going to open this on my phone. All right. So your top 4 teams into these college football playoff brackets. Indiana is number 1. That's no surprise. They're the only undefeated team going into the playoffs. followed by Ohio State at number 2 after losing that Big Ten championship against Indiana. Georgia still remains at number 3. I'm not surprised about that. They earned their right to go there. And then Texas Tech rounded out the top 4, being at number 4. So for the most part, three of the four champions from their conference schedule have made the playoffs, which is not surprising. And they're going to be the top 4. So they're going to basically get a first round bye while the other teams are going to have to play. So the other teams that are going to be playing in these games in the first round, you got James Madison making the conference playoffs. Good on the committee for doing that. Will be facing the Oregon Ducks in Oregon. Alabama, the only 3-loss team to make the playoffs, are going to be facing Oklahoma at Oklahoma. So that's a rematch because I think Oklahoma handed them an L. So Alabama has a chance to basically get that revenge game against them. Ole Miss is going to be hosting against Tulane at home in Ole Miss. Remember, Ole Miss just recently lost their coach, Lane Kiffin, who just signed to LSU. So based on Ole Miss's performance, from what I heard, based on Ole Miss's performance, can determine what Lane Kiffin's contract is going to be at LSU. And rounding out the last games that's going to be played in the playoffs, Texas A&M, which I kind of knew they were going to make the playoffs. They only lost one game, and that was against Texas at the end of the season, is going to be facing my Miami Hurricanes at Texas, College Station. Let's go. So, yes, Notre Dame is out of the playoffs. Let's go. Oh, thank you, committee. Thank you, committee. Thank you, committee. I got to send a message to my uncle. Oh, my God. I got to send a message to my uncle about this because, like, this is, y'all getting this in real time. I'm not taking this off the recording. I'm leaving this on. Y'all getting this in real time. I'm circling this right here. Oh, my God. This is amazing. I got to do this in real time, y'all. And if you don't like it if you don't like it, I don't care. No, let's not use that. Let's use this. Oh my God. I know somebody in the group chat is going to be mad because they I got to share this. I'm leaving this. I'm gonna rub this in. I'm happy. Listen, I've been lobbying for Miami to get there. Oh, whatever. The message failed to send. What? Why? Why did the message fail to send? Yeah, well, it'll send eventually. What's up, Crystal? How you doing? I've been lobbying for Miami to get there, and my uncle and I were talking about this during the Christmas break, the Thanksgiving break, and he said it himself. Texas Tech needed to beat BYU, which is true. Georgia needed to beat Alabama. I said that myself, and then I said Virginia needs to lose. He said it didn't matter if Virginia didn't lose or not. I disagreed, and with Duke beating Virginia, that kind of sealed our deal. Let's go. Oh my gosh. Oh, not the frames dropping. There we go. It's a little bit of frame drop. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not the end of the world. I'll give you shout outs in a second. What's up, Chris? How you doing? I'm happy. I'm extremely, extremely happy because, hey, oh no, another frame drop. What's going on here? Well, the recording will still get on. I don't care. So that's what's going on with the WNBA. We'll go from there. And then finally, we're going to end up on the NBA Cup, which is been finalized. Because I'm not going to talk about NBA that much, but I am going to mention that the Cup knockout stage is here. We have the Magic, Heat, and the Thunder taking the top seeds, and these games will be played on December 9th. I think this week. So I think Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. So you got on December 9th and December 10th, which is Tuesdays, Wednesdays. These games are going to be playing for the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. You got the Magic Heat is going to be hosting the Miami Heat at home. Toronto Raptors going to be hosting New York Knicks for the East. On the West, you got the Thunder, who took the top seed, going to be hosting the Phoenix Suns, and the Los Angeles Lakers, who've been looking phenomenal right now, is going to be hosting the San Antonio Spurs. And then December 13th, you're going to have the semifinal games taking place at Vegas, and then your championship is going to be December 16th at Vegas at 8:30. So I'm really, really hoping that the Heat can do something against the Magic. I hope they don't lay a good. I just want them to be competitive because I've seen the Heat this season. They're still ranked up there near the top 6. Considering that the East is pretty much wide open with most of the top stars like Hallie, Tatum, both being hurt. The New York Knicks are there running things. Detroit's looking really good. But I just, like I said, with these games, I want them to be competitive enough because the whole purpose of the Cup is just to bring a level of competitiveness early on in the season so that you can have something to hang your hat on moving forward. So most of these teams are going to be playoff bound teams for the most part, except for the Phoenix Suns maybe, but everybody else will be playoff bound. I think that's the only team that's not really playoff bound is the Phoenix Suns. But yes, that is what we got going on for the NBA Cup. I didn't want to mention too much about it because I'm going to check out the podcast that's happening on Wednesday. Like I said, Rock Boys Network. Make sure you go follow them. If you follow them on Twitch, you can find the YouTube channel and go follow them there. Just to give a little bit of insight, we will be talking about things that have been happening with Chris Paul. I did mention I wanted to talk about Terry Rozier and Giannis. The stuff that's going on with Giannis right now is really interesting because with Giannis, he just recently had an injury. And on top of that, before the injury happened, they were in talks about potential trades for Giannis this season because the way his team has been playing. So this is kind of interesting that this is happening now, and he just had an injury that could affect his trade depending on how severe. I don't think it's too severe, but this could play into his trade. So hopefully everything could be worked out, that they can get things going. There's been a few teams that they talking about a trade request. New York Knicks is one of them. Golden State is another. The San Antonio Spurs is another one, although I don't think the San Antonio Spurs would do it. Atlanta is another team that was in the mix of that trade request, and I think the 76ers was another one. If I was a betting man, it'd probably be pretty ideal for him to go west. Would go maybe Golden State or Houston. I don't see. They also mentioned Houston. I don't see that working. The problem I have with Houston is they still don't have a point. So, like, Golden State could use a big man, and Giannis would fit perfectly with that with their system. San Antonio would have to give up too many pieces, and I think that team is set that they don't really need him. 76ers would be interesting. I just don't know if the 76ers has enough to trade for him. Who was the other team I mentioned? Atlanta. That would not be an ideal trade for him because you're basically going to Atlanta. I mean, he would be a talk of the town, but would they be a playoff team? Maybe not. We'll just see. We'll see what happens. But that's pretty much all the news I have for today. I'm glad to get this one out the way. Make sure that you go to your ESPN.com for your news. You can also go to FoxSports.com and Associated Press, where most of the news comes from. And make sure you go out there and support your local teams. So I'm going ahead and stop the recording because the recording is over. And we're going to